A very interesting book. Probably one. I think I've said it probably about. I don't know if you guys have known, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy in the movie terms is my favorite movie trilogy of all time. Going back and reading the books that I missed out on is something I've always wanted to do. So I fully read Fellowship of the Ring. Just finished it the other night. I already started last night. I started the Two Towers already, so I'm freaking jumping right into that mother effer. But yeah, I brought up some of my notes, and there is some things I really wanted to touch on. Otis All says, I've been looking at the new Steam console. Seems pretty neat for a little gaming console. Yeah, we will be talking about that in just a little bit. I am looking forward to that as well. But yeah, so I've got up a couple notes here of a couple things that I really wanted to touch on. I'll be very fast. Touching on a book, maybe that might not be like the most. That's probably like a super niche topic, book talk. I don't even know if people read books anymore. Maybe I'm just the weirdo. I'm sure there's people out there reading books. But yeah, I again love the movie series. The book I love now for almost completely different reasons. The one thing I did notice coming off of the reading The Hobbit versus the Hobbit movies is the whole idea of just there being so much more context in what it was happening within the books, and I really feel like that case is enlarged here within the Fellowship of the Ring. There is so much more context that is missed between the movies and the books. Not necessarily blaming Peter Jackson. I guess I'll go ahead and throw that out there. If you don't know, the theatrical version of Lord of the Rings is what, like 2 to 2.5 hours long. Which for the longest time was the way I consumed those movies, was theatrical. The last 10, 15 years, though, yeah, I only watch these movies in the extended version. I don't even touch. To me, the theatrical version of those movies is like taboo. I don't go anywhere near them. But that saying with that being the case, I still feel like even with the extended versions, there is still so much context that's still missing, and there's still really cool things from the book that I kind of some of them I wish were brought over. Some of them I'm happy are left out. Hey, Veronica Rose just joined. What's up, Veronica? Welcome to the stream. But yeah, so I guess real quick, let me just pull up a couple of things. I mean, I could probably go off the top of my head. So I guess one of the big things that a lot of people go back and look at when it comes to, a lot of people point out things that are like irregularities or things that don't make sense, is, if you guys don't know, there's another Lord of the Rings movie that's, I think it's probably being made by now. It's called The Hunt for Gollum, which something that a lot of people didn't realize is in the movie, there is a period of... Well, anyways, yeah, there's a long period stretch in between when Gandalf leaves, when he finds out about the One Ring to rule them all. When he finds out Bilbo has that, there's a long period of time. In the movie, it feels as though he's kind of gone and comes back. If you don't know, in the movies, he kind of runs off to He runs off real quick. It seems like he runs to Minas Tirith, and then eventually on his way back, stops by Frodo, leaves again, and then disappears for a period of time. In the movies, they make it seem as though all of this is happening like that, when in the books, he's gone for like dang near a decade plus. Like, he is gone for like 10 years, and there's so much stuff that happens in between here. And, but yeah, and this entire period of time is what the future movie that Peter Jackson I believe Peter Jackson has signed back on again to do, is the whole Hunt for Gollum is all of the things that take place, all of the events within that like long decade plus timeline that happened there. With ideally, the only people that should be in that movie would be Gandalf, Aragorn, Frodo. And Gollum, of course. Anybody else? I don't really think anybody else should really pop up in that movie, but that probably should be the main cast. Hopefully, I think from what I understand, Ian McKellen has said no one else is playing a Gandalf other than him. Oh gosh, I forgot Aragorn's name. Oh, I normally know his name. Viggo Mortensen. From what I understand, I think Viggo has basically said the same thing. I'm assuming no one else is going to play Aragorn. I'm pretty sure he's coming back. Obviously, the guy that plays Gollum, he's definitely coming back. That guy is so active and directing and playing in movies and voice acting. I'm pretty sure he'll be back for that. And then Elijah Wood. I can't imagine Elijah wouldn't come back. In fact, I'll actually... Oh, let me show you guys something real quick that's pretty cool. A lot of people... I don't think there's ever been verification that Elijah Wood is coming back to play Frodo. But there was this cool thing that a lot of people were kind of speculating on that was, like, really interesting. I'll play this for you guys. This is kind of cool. So, recently, there was a wedding happening in Hobbiton over in New Zealand. If you don't know where the movie, much of the Hobbiton and much of the Lord of the Rings locations were filmed on, you know, IRL in New Zealand. Beautiful place. I've been wanting to go. It actually sounds very cheap to go to New Zealand. But yeah, there was a wedding for a couple who, you know, big Lord of the Rings fans, and were doing stuff. And lo and behold, guess who was in the crowd who happened to show up? Hey, Elijah Wood. Now, isn't that
Hobbit wedding complete with a Hobbit surprise as Elijah Wood crashes a couple's nuptials?
Now, why was he in New Zealand?
The Shire.
Hobbiton is my favorite, and it's one of my favorite parts of the film. And they actually built this place. Hobbiton was a reality.
Why was he in New Zealand, do you think?
And they let it grow over
I'm like
years' time.
99% sure they're recording. Recording the film. I mean, I can't imagine another reason why he would be in.
I think all of us at that point.
Why he would be just happen to be in New Zealand.
In this world that we were creating, and it was a special moment for everyone, especially the hobbits, because it was like going home.
You're late.
A wizard is
Never late. He arrives exactly when he means to.
Yeah, Frodo himself making it just in time to catch the couple's I-do's on the actual New Zealand set of Lord of the Rings. The surprising moment shared on TikTok with the caption, POV, you're getting married in the Shire and an unexpected guest crashes your wedding.
Never had any adventures or did anything unexpected.
How did that experience being a part of such an iconic...
I wonder how a new film would go nowadays, says Odin. Well, we'll see. I don't think it's a coincidence that he happened to just be in New Zealand. I guarantee you he's there for probably 5 to 6 months recording the new movie. He was obviously invited. Oh, no, yeah, no doubt. I bet you the people that work at Hobbiton probably have an in with Elijah. I guarantee you one of them was just like, hey, you happen to be in town, there's a wedding or something, or he asked them. But anyway, either way, it's a really cool thing. I just thought it was funny that he happened to drop in on their wedding. It's like, no. I think everyone knows why he's there. Pretty cool video, though. But yeah, so again, that kind of delved into that. That's a lot of context. Actually, in the book, I believe once they get over to the Council of Elrond, Gandalf tells, like, I'm not kidding, like, literally Gandalf tells the entire plot of the Hunt for Gollum, which that's something crazy. We'll definitely touch on that. But that whole chapter, the Council of Elrond within the book, is so much better than in the movie. Like where the movie is better at, in my opinion, in certain points, is a lot of the drama. When it comes to drama and making things more exciting, Peter Jackson does a fantastic job of doing that. But when it comes to like the context, and granted, Peter Jackson's only got what theatrical release 2.5 hours to fit an entire movie within. You know, there's going to be stuff that's left on, you know, he can't fit in within. So I don't really blame Peter for there being lack of context. But, again, that's just one of the benefits of a book, you know, being a bajillion pages long. But, really cool, yeah. That's all super awesome. But, yeah, like I said, Gandalf literally tells everything that's going on with the Hunt for Gollum. He explains why they're after Gollum, where they find Gollum, what happens to Gollum post them dealing with him. And there's a lot of cool stuff. Like, after reading that one section of the Council of Elrond, like you can definitely see how they can make a movie out of that, basically. So let's see. Other talking points. A big one, probably the biggest thing that a lot of people critique a lot of people critique for Peter Jackson having left out of the movies. Something I'm actually happy is not in the movies. Is overall, I would say the Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil is a huge talking point. A lot of people are always hounding Lord of the Rings. Oh well, did you know Tom Bombadil? He wears his green shoes and his big pointy hat, and it's like, yeah, most people that are Lord of the Rings nerds know that Tom Bombadil's not there. He's in the books, which, by the way, his representation of him within the Rings of Power TV show was pretty awful in my opinion, but we won't dig into that. But I for one am happy that Tom Bombadil was kind of left out of the story. Mainly because overall I feel like something that Peter definitely overall left out of the Lord of the Rings, if you guys don't know, is in the book there's a lot of singing. There's a lot of singing. Like, I'm telling you, just about every chapter has somebody singing a song. And I know that the Lord of the Rings does. I know that the trilogy does have, like, every now and then somebody sings a song, but in the books, I'm telling you, these hobbits and these elves and stuff, they just, like, they'll just sit down for a minute and they just start singing, which I think that's something that I like it for brevity's sake, being left out of the movie trilogy. The vibes once you get to the Tom Bombadil section within the Fellowship is they definitely like drastically change stuff. Like, just even though I like Tom and I like all of the stuff surrounding him, thematically it just is kind of off. Because if you really think about I guess kind of the theming that's kind of happening, what's happening in the moment when Tom Bombadil shows up. If you don't know Tom Bombadil, I guess quick explanation of who Tom Bombadil is. In the books, Tom Bombadil, as the hobbits, Merry, Pippin, Sam, and Frodo are leaving Hobbiton when they're on their way, trying to find their way to, I don't even remember what their end goal is. I think they're trying to get to Bree. Bree is the bar, townhouse, whatever area that they eventually find Aragorn in. When they're on their way to Bree, they have to go through a mysterious, or they're actively trying to avoid the Nazgul or the Black Riders or whatever these. Oh, they actually got them on screen right there. He's trying to escape the Black Riders. They don't know them as the Nazgul by here, but yeah, they're on their way trying to escape. They're fleeing Hobbiton, the Shire, and they're accosted by these guys constantly on their way there. Eventually, they reach a forest that ends up kind of being haunted. They get attacked by an old man. Oh gosh, this is all off the top of my head. I'm doing pretty good. They're attacked by a tree called Old Man Willow, and Old Man Willow almost kills two of the hobbits, Merry and Pippin. Tom Bombadil shows up. He's like a mystical creature. They don't know him. They don't know he's mystical, or I guess pretty quickly they find out. But as it turns out, Tom Bombadil is this age-old being that possibly has been around since the creation of Middle Earth or something like that. And that basically is his story. Is he's like kind of a tree hugger. You know, he cares deeply about the environment and about the creatures and the earth itself. But he only cares about that. He doesn't care about what's happening outside of his realm, his vicinity. So he refuses to get involved in the wars and to do any of that stuff. He is purely a creature of the forest, of the earth, or Middle Earth, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that Tom Bombadil is a super interesting character. He saves them. Oh no, he saves them twice. Not only from Old Man Willow, but he saves them also for something called the Barrow-wights, which is something they don't delve into in the movies at all. That's also another huge chapter that's not there. Is the Barrow-wights are like these ghosts. These ghosts that are like they're kings or represent some sort of figures from the past that attempts to kill the hobbits as well. Kind of like I said, like that stuff, the Barrow-wights and Tom Bombadil, like all of that stuff is interesting to me. But I can understand why I feel like it could have been left out. Oh, his Marigold? Is that Bombadil's wife? I can't remember. Odin Salty in chat says, I heard some musicians doing some songs from Tolkien's books. There was one I remember that was written about the Ents marching to Isengard. That's one of my favorite songs in the movies. The Ents march to Isengard. Something like that. There's more I heard, but they are fun. Oh yeah, I love the music. Who was that? That was, Howard Shore. Howard Shore's like, I really hope they can get Howard back for Hunt for Gollum. That'd be incredible. But yeah, like I said, I won't touch on Tom Bombadil. That's something most people probably don't even know about if you don't know anything about the books, if you only watch the movies. He has been represented one time in any modern Lord of the Rings, and that's in the Rings of Power they showed him. And I mentioned it. Not a good representation of Tom. Again, I can understand why Peter wouldn't have wanted to touch that, because the vibes around Tom are totally drastic. They totally contrast the emotions of the moment and what's happening. And I guess that maybe that was Tolkien's point. But if you think about it, the hobbits are like frantically trying to escape these black riders that want to kill them. And then you drastically, while they're like fear for their lives from possibly dying multiple times, Tom just runs in, hopping and skipping and talking about how wonderful the world and everything is, and he's like, oh, my green shoes and my hat. It's just like, I can understand. Again, it's a weird thing to try and have both of those feelings going on at the same time. I get it. Okay, so that's one other point. Let me try and find other points I had. Black Riders, let's see. Oh, there's a lot of stuff, yeah. Real quick, there's a character named Farmer Maggot that that is in the movies. They barely touch on him at all. He ends up playing a pretty pivotal role as well. I, for one, kind of, I don't know, I kind of like that they didn't, that's, again, early on, I feel like there's a couple of things I'm okay that they left out. Where, we'll definitely touch on it, but again, the Council of Elrond is where I'm going to start having some problems, but yeah, all of that stuff within the farmland, I'm okay that got left out. Let's see. We talked about the Barrow Wights. Okay, yeah, Aragorn's introduction over at the Bree, at the end of the Prancing Pony, I think it was called. I think this section is slightly more interesting than what happens in the movies. Aragorn definitely, or I guess they don't know him. What do they know? He's a Strider. That's right. At the time, they only know him as the Strider character, or what is it? Strider or the Ranger. He's known as a Ranger from the North or whatever. I, for one, in the movies, how they handle his introduction, I just feel like there's a little less context into who he is. That's another of the great thing that's great about the book form, is the book can give you more in-depth knowledge of what a character is thinking, versus a movie never really can show you what a character's thinking. And in the book, I feel like that's where Aragorn is delved into a little bit deeper, is his thought process of how he's handling... Because he kind of just shows up, and his whole goal is to try, and he wants to go with the hobbits to try and protect them on their quest for the ring. He knows they have the ring. He's like a super smart... He's in the know. But in the book, it's far more detailed with like his thought process of trying to get them to become comfortable with him and to let him go along with them. And I don't know, it's really cool there, how they end up like agreeing or thinking that, knowing that he is Aragorn and he is friends with ends up being friends with Gandalf the Grey, is through a note that's left with who's the Bree? Oh gosh, there's so many characters. I'm trying to remember names of all these characters. The barkeep at the Prancing Pony, he ends up being left a note from Gandalf while Gandalf is captured by Saruman. But yeah, and through that note he ends up like saying, hey, you should trust Aragorn, if I remember correctly, and all that stuff. So there's a lot more I would say it's a lot more tricky. Like, I feel like in the movie they kind of just go with Aragorn or whatever, or they believe him very fast. In the book, it's an entire chapter them trying to like agree with him and to go with him. I'm hot. My AC on. Alright, so we touched on that. Hobbit's Road to Bree. I don't really remember if the Road to Bree was all that different. I feel like for the most part that was pretty samey. I really liked in the extended version they actually show the three trolls that they end up running into. I think that's somewhere around the time after Frodo gets stabbed with the Morgul blade. That stuff I'm pretty sure all is the same. Oh, I will say the one thing that's slightly different about the Road to Bree that's different than the movie, which I'm not quite sure that I like what they did there. But what ends up happening is, if you remember in the movies, the person that ends up showing up and saving Frodo when he's like, when they're all fleeing the Black Riders, and that he's, has this curse put upon him by the Morgul blade. Arwen, the daughter of Elrond, ends up showing up, and she's the one that picks him up and essentially gets him to safety. They get over to the river with the if you remember, with the horses in the river, and then Stephen King books also suffered from the same issue where a lot of the books are left out of the adaptation. I remember reading Doctor Sleep and I saw the movie. I wasn't really into it, says Odin and Salty. Oh, interesting. Actually, something I'm watching right now. That's what I should have talked about. Oh, maybe I'll talk about that right after this. I forgot that's something I also wanted to talk about was I've been watching the It show. But that's something that's really cool with the new It show. I don't know if you've been watching it, Odin. Welcome to Derry. It's doing a really cool job of like finding a way to connect itself with a lot of the other books and movies that Stephen King has. There's so many references in the new show that it's really cool. I'm really happy with the show so far. I'm super excited for the next episode. What's that, this Sunday or something like that? But yeah, I don't need to touch on that, but I get where you're going. I don't know. I think that's why I like what Peter Jackson has done with The Lord of the Rings, is even though when it got a little gross, him extending The Hobbit to 3 movies, for the most part, the guy cares about the source material. He cares about the characters, getting them right. And I just love his way of doing it. I'm super excited for Hunt for Gollum, and that's the most important thing to me, is when someone adapts something, is whether you care about the source material. Which, when you go and you watch the Rings of Power TV show, that was clearly the flaw with that show, is they did not care, they did not give a lick, or they didn't understand the source material. And yeah, I don't know, that's always a big problem. Any adaptation, source material is also always super important. Odin Salty says, I haven't watched it, but I'm glad they're showing more of it. I won't say anything, but I'm liking seeing this earlier It stuff. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm on episode 3. The newer one is 4. I think that comes out this Sunday. So, all right. So, oh shoot, I lost my trail of thought. Oh, in the movie, Arwen, she's the one that shows up and saves them. In the book, it is not Arwen. It is, oh gosh, I forgot the character's name. It's who is it? Oh, Glorfindel, that's right. Instead of Arwen, it is a character called Glorfindel that ends up showing up. He really doesn't do a heck of a whole lot. I know he seems like he's kind of a big deal within Elrond's inner circle, but like Glorfindel really doesn't. He kind of shows up and he does all the same stuff with that Arwen was doing, except getting romantic with Aragorn. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like what Peter did with Arwen. He made Arwen probably more meaningful and more important with the story. She really didn't do all that much in the Fellowship. They barely touch on her romance with Aragorn. It's kind of just like there's like a little dinner that happens and she's there and it's like boop, okay, yep, there's a thing between them, and then that's all you really know about their romance. So that is that was something I definitely think was beneficial for the Lord of the Rings movie. Was not that I care, I'm not like a romance guy, but like I definitely think the relationship aspect of Arwen and Aragorn in the Fellowship, at least, I don't know if they delve on it more, but that was something I feel like was definitely a good thing for Peter to have messed around with. I feel like okay, so I feel like we are at Council of Elrond, so I'm gonna try and be quick. This is the longest, I think. I can't imagine. I feel like this has to be the longest chapter in the Lord of the Rings, completely. For me, it took me 2 nights to finish the chapter. I read it was like 35 pages or something like that, and I read like half of the pages one night, which took me like an hour, and then the next night I read the other half, and that took me like 2 hours to read that one chapter, which was crazy. It felt like it was almost double what a normal chapter had been up to that point. So yeah, I'd be surprised if in any other books there's a chapter as long as that one. In my opinion, this is where the movie falls very short of the books is when you get to the Council of Elrond. There's so much context. There's so much cool stuff that's left behind. First off, if you guys don't know, in the movies or in the books versus the movie, Frodo has an entire like really cool conversation dialogue with Gloin. If you don't know, Gloin is one of the original hobbits that was in the the original grouping, and it's so much cooler, this conversation that happens with Gloin and Frodo. Gloin they talk about all of like what happened with every character in every region from the Hobbit over like the 100 years or whatever it's gone since then. And Gloin's like, yeah, this is what happened to this character, this hobbit, this hobbit, this hobbit, this hobbit. This is what happened with Beorn, the giant bear person, and his future relatives. This is what happened with Dane, who Dane ended up being Thorin Oakenshield. Dane is Thorin Oakenshield's cousin, who ends up taking over the Misty Mountains. He ends up becoming king at the end of that. He talks about his future lineage and what happens there. Another cool thing is the probably one of the big things that I feel like is in the movies. If you don't know, there's a section called the Mines of Moria, and in the Mines of Moria, Gimli, one of the original members of the Hobbit, not Gimli, but one of the other members of the Hobbit being, what's his name? Gosh, I'm telling you, man, Lord of the Rings, I'm bad with names. Here lies Balin, that's right. Balin ended up being one of the original members of the Hobbit. They're essentially, at one point in the lore, there's an entire war that takes place in the Mines of Moria. Mines of Moria was like a major stronghold for the dwarves. Eventually, it gets ransacked, it gets overrun. There's a giant war that happens there. All the dwarves die, and then like orcs come in, they take over the region, and then eventually Balin ends up gathering up his own force from the Misty Mountains, and they go over and they try and take back the Misty Mountains. And that's the last time that a lot of the dwarves, anybody hears from Balin. So in the movies, you don't know any of this, though. In the movies, all you know is that Gloin said, here, have some lore on these peeps, said Skylar. Exactly, yeah. In the movie, all you know is that I just mean, like, in the movies, Gandalf is the only one that gives off any emotions or feeling that, like, he knows what's happened at the Misty Mountain, or not the Misty, at the Mines of Moria. And in the movies, it just seems as though like nobody knows. But then in the books, Gloin gives off the feeling that, like, he even says that yeah, everyone, all of us know that, like, that they haven't seen Gloin in, like, or they haven't seen Balin in, like, 10, 20 years or something like that. So it's like, again, that's context that, like, everybody knows that their mission that Balin went on to, like, take back the Mines of Moria. Most people know that, like, that was a failed mission and that they're all dead. But, like, in the movies, Gimli, son of Gloin, I think he's the son of Gloin. In the movies, he's kind of so, like, no, they're alive. My cousin Balin will welcome us, and it'll be a grand meal for all of us, and whatever. And it's like, gosh, my voice is starting to crackle already. And it's just like, I don't know. It just seems like everyone, like, they even say that, like, even Boromir is terrified of the Mines of Moria in the books. And in the movies, like, they kind of just, like, glaze over everyone being afraid of that, and it's like, it's strictly just Gandalf being afraid of Moria. And I don't know, again, context. It's just stuff you don't know. Again, the whole stuff with Gloin is awesome. Everything that takes place, again, Gandalf explains the entire story that's going to be upcoming for the Hunt of Gollum in the book. So you can see why it would be a long chapter. They literally talk about the lore and placement of, like, everybody. Frodo and all his group explain to the group their entire story of how they got there, and it's great. Again, I would say the Council of Elrond is the one big aspect of the book that is probably much better than the movie. Everything else I feel like is, pretty A-okay. Pretty on the spot, in my opinion. So that, again, I don't mean to go on for that one chapter. That's probably the one chapter I should go on off of. So let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip on ahead. What do we have? Other chapters I had. The gifts from Galadriel. A lot of the stuff that happens in Lothlorien. That's the stuff that happens with Galadriel the Fair or whatever. Yeah, I mean, the rest of it's just... It's I would say after everything that happens in the Mines of Moria, I would say is pretty on spot with what happens within... How much of this video? Oh, with what happens with the movie. I feel like the movie after the Mines of Moria is pretty spot on, except for one thing I will touch on. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I guess the only one thing different from the movie and the book is just like the very ending. In the very ending of the movie, it ends with this giant fight between the Uruk-hai orcs and Aragorn and his group as they're looking for Frodo. Whereas in the movies, they don't even get... In the movie, there's just a slight time difference. At the end of the book, it ends with Frodo and Sam just going off on their own, and then it cuts. Whereas in the movie, it ends with them going off on their own, but there's also this big fight that takes place with Aragorn and all of the group. Since I started the Two Towers, the very first chapter, that whole fight is moved over to the in the first chapter of the book. So that is a subtle difference. I, for one, am glad that Peter didn't leave out the fight. I definitely feel like it makes the end of the first movie stronger, having the entire fight there and dealing with the death of Boromir super early or at the end of the movie. I'm kind of glad that's not something that he did decide to tackle in the second book or in the second movie. I don't know. I just feel like it makes the ending a little more impactful. Like, I feel like the way it ends in the book is a little like, oh, okay. They paddle off and they go off on their own in their boat, and it's like Frodo and Sam, and it's just like, I don't know. Good thing. Good on you. Okay, I guess that's all. I'm gonna move on from this. I know this is probably boring. Maybe it's boring. Me, nerd rambling on about Lord of the Rings. I love this series. I loved reading The Hobbit. I loved reading Lord of the Rings again. I've already started on the Two Towers. I'll talk about that one. That one's actually by far the shortest book out of the three. So yeah, we'll get to that. Again, if you're comparing the extended version, to the books or the Fellowship of the Ring book, I definitely feel like what Peter did is I think Peter accomplished what his goal was. Is there a lot of context and some stuff left out from the books that could have been very useful? I definitely think that would have been the case. But what Peter did succeed, if that was his goal, was he made the movies far more dramatic for film. Which, hey, it's a movie. You know what I mean? Like I honestly feel like how Peter handled it was the right way. And that's it. All right, everyone. That's Lord of the Rings. I'll let you know when I'm done with the Two Towers. I almost yapped for that for 55 minutes. Goodness gracious. I yap in my own head sometimes. It's entertaining to me, says Odin. I'm enjoying the yap session, said Skylar. Well, I appreciate y'all.
Well. Looks like you've reached the end, haven't you? You imbeciles. On EnteRChazmaN, you'll witness gaming brilliance beyond your comprehension. ChazmaN Live brings the drama. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. EST. Longplays delivers full journeys, uncut and unspoiled. Join the Patreon, Discord, Instagram, and TikTok below, if you can manage it. Still not following EnteRChazmaN? Then mediocrity clearly suits you.